Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about how to drive a manual car. This is the second lesson, and if you haven't looked at the first lesson already, I'll put a card up here for you in the corner. Have a look at that. In the first lesson, we covered clutch control. We went over the shift pattern of the transmission and how the transmission shifts. Talked about the shifter resting between the middle gears, regardless of what kind of transmission it is. The shift pattern is the same whether you sit on the left or right side of the vehicle. We showed you an exercise to locate the friction zone where the engine begins to engage with the drivetrain and the vehicle begins to move forward. We put the parking brake on and brought it out to that friction point, watched the tachometer drop, and then push the clutch back in, and you did that about 30 times. The next exercise was to actually move the vehicle forward, release the parking brake, apply the foot brake with your right foot, and then bring the clutch out and then release the brake while you're holding the vehicle with the clutch and then getting the vehicle to move forward. And we were just isolating the clutch, so it was teaching you clutch control and how to control the clutch through that friction zone, or what it's called the biting point, where the two plates come together and the engine engages with the drivetrain and the vehicle moves forward. So that was the first lesson. Have a look at that if you haven't done that already. So today what we're going to do is show you how to combine the clutch with the throttle and the brake, and that's today's lesson. And then probably on the next lesson we're going to get out and drive around on the road and show you how to shift gears. And again, I'll emphasize, when you're learning how to drive a manual car, first and reverse are your toughest gears. So if you work with first and reverse here in the parking lot, when you get to the other gears, the gears that actually take you forward and give you increased speed, it's going to be a little bit easier. So today, clutch, brake, clutch, and throttle. Stick around, we'll be right back with that information. Hi there, Smart Drivers. Welcome back. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you today about how to drive a manual car. Lesson 2. First lesson we showed you clutch control, and in this lesson we're going to show you how to combine the clutch with the throttle and the clutch with the brake. And we're going to do it in forward gear first, and I would recommend that you do that about 20 or 30 times before you start working on reverse, because you're supposed to be looking out the back window, hopefully, you're not going to be able to look at the tachometer. So if you do it in a forward motion first for most of the times that you're going to be bringing the clutch out and then pushing the throttle in, you can look at the clutch and get a feel for how much rev you have to bring it up so you're not over revving it, because when you over rev it, you're not looking cool, right? You want to control the throttle, and there's another video here on the channel how to control the throttle, and you can control the throttle, bring the clutch out, and then have a nice smooth takeoff with the clutch and the throttle combined and move the vehicle forward. And then you want to bring the tachometer in a gas engine or a petrol engine down to about 1,000 RPM, and then you push the clutch in and bring the vehicle to a complete stop. You can have the clutch out and in gear and moving forward and braking and slowing the vehicle. You don't actually have to push the clutch in until it gets down to about 1,000 RPM. If you're driving a diesel engine, you'll probably bring it down to 700 or 800 RPM depending on which vehicle you're driving. It'll have a bit of a different feel to it, but in a diesel engine you should be able to bring it down to about 600 or 700 RPM before you actually have to push the clutch in. So that's what we're going to do today. Combine the clutch with the throttle, combine the clutch with the brake, and we're going to do that in first and reverse gear. And in the next lesson we'll probably get out on the road. And as I just re-emphasize, first and reverse are your toughest gears. So if you can get those gears down, the rest of it's fairly straightforward. So let's fire up the cameras here and let's get going. Two hands on the steering wheel, moving forward, and what we do is we hold the brake and we bring the clutch out, and again we wait till the tachometer starts to set down below 1,000 RPM. I can feel the vehicle start to move forward. I can feel it vibrating a little bit. I hold the brake, take my foot off the brake, a little bit of throttle, bring it up to about 1,000, maybe a little bit more, and then nice and easy control the clutch. Foot all the way off the clutch, push the clutch in, and apply the brake. Same thing, hold the brake out to the friction point. You can feel it start to settle down. The vehicle will probably vibrate a little bit. Hold it with the clutch off the brake, a little bit of throttle, and nice and easy out through the friction point. Off the throttle, push the clutch in, brake. Out to the friction point, I can feel it settle down. You can see the tachometer go down. off the brake on the little bit of throttle, and out the rest of the way on the clutch, all the way off the clutch. Off the throttle, push the clutch in and brake. Out to the friction point, off the brake, little bit of throttle, nice and easy out on the clutch and all the way off the clutch. And one more time. So off the throttle, clutch in, brake. Off, hold the brake, out on the clutch to the friction point. You can feel it go, the tachometer go down. You can feel the vehicle begin to vibrate. Off the brake, little bit of throttle, rest of the way out on the clutch and all the way off the clutch. Once you do that 20 or 30 times and you're very comfortable with that, then go to reverse. So we're going to put it into reverse gear. And on most vehicles, you'll know you're in reverse gear because it clunks a little bit when it goes into reverse. So that'll tell you that you're in fact in reverse. So we're going to look behind us. Same thing. Hold the brake, out to the friction point. I can feel it begin to settle down and the car vibrates a little bit. Off, a little bit of throttle, control the clutch, and out, completely off the clutch and throttle. Off the throttle, brake a little bit, push the clutch in, come to a complete stop. Same thing. Hold the brake, out on the clutch. You can feel it vibrate and settle down. A little bit of throttle, all the way off the clutch. Clutch in, brake. And we're uphill this time, so it needs more control, more exact technique. Brake, right there. I can feel it settle down. And throttle, and all the way off the clutch. Now you can see that this vehicle vibrates a little bit when it comes through the clutch. And the reason that is, it's an old vehicle, the clutch has been replaced, and I'm not exactly sure that the clutch was replaced correctly, and I've also noticed in this model of Honda, they all do that. They're really tough in reverse, so if you can get your foot off the clutch as quickly as possible and then work the throttle, it's gonna be better for you. The last thing we're gonna do in this lesson is we're gonna move forward and we're gonna throttle up so that we can use the brake and not push the clutch in. I'll show you how to do that. So brake, out to the friction point, here, settle down, off, and we begin to move forward and we throttle right up. And then we can brake until the tachometer comes down to 1,000, then push it in. So hold the brake, out to the friction point, off the brake, on the throttle, complete the rest of the way out. Brake down to 1,000, push the clutch in. Out to the friction point, off the brake, complete out the rest of the way. We're going to go around in a circle because I need to get going the other way here again because I ran out of parking lot. And we throttle up. And we brake until the tachometer comes to 1,000, push the clutch in, come to a stop. Out on the clutch to the friction point, hold the brake, off the brake, a little bit of throttle, and we move forward. Brake down to 1,000, in with the clutch and stop. Out to the friction point, off the brake, a little bit of throttle, and out the rest of the way on the clutch. Nice and easy through that friction zone. Okay, and it'd be the same thing when you're in reverse, except it's going to be a little bit more difficult in reverse because you're not going to be able to see the tachometer because hopefully you're observing and looking out the back window. So hold the brake, out to the friction point, a little bit of throttle, all the way off the clutch, nice and easy. Off the throttle, on the brake, and right there, push the clutch in. And that's how you do it to combine the clutch and the brake. Quick review of driving a manual vehicle, lesson number 2. Now we combine the clutch and the throttle and the clutch and the brake. And the reason that we hold the brake until we come out to the friction point is because the clutch will hold the vehicle while you take your foot off the brake and go to the throttle. And the reason that you want to do that is because when we start doing hill starts in the 3rd or 4th lesson here, you're not going to roll backwards. If you're driving a manual vehicle, you're going to be required to not roll backwards on a road test. If you roll backwards in a manual vehicle on a road test, it's an automatic fail. So that's how you prevent the vehicle from rolling backwards. Hold the brake, clutch out to the friction point, at the friction point, then take your foot from the brake to the to the throttle, and you give it a bit of throttle, 1000 RPM, 1200 RPM in a gas or petrol engine, and then control the clutch out through that friction zone, that area where the engine re-engages with the drivetrain and the vehicle moves forward. And you're going to do that about 20 or 30 times for your exercise until you're really comfortable with it. You get a good sense of the vehicle. Make sure that when you're operating the vehicle too, when you bring the clutch out to the friction point and you're holding the vehicle's going to vibrate a little bit because it wants to go forward. And listen to the engine and listen to what the vehicle's doing, because you need that when you start doing reverse. Because when you're doing reverse, hopefully you're looking out the back window and not looking at the tachometer, because the tachometer is a visual aid and will go down. And again, I stress, first and reverse are your toughest gears. And as we'll see in the next lesson here, once you get to second, third, and fourth, easy peasy. Especially if you spent the time in the parking lot doing the 3 or 4 exercises rather, that I showed you in lesson 1 and lesson 2. If you've got clutch control down, throttle control, the rest is all easy. So we combined the clutch with the throttle, and again, the vehicle will not stall. If you're holding it at that friction point, the electronic fuel injection will bring the engine up a little bit. It'll increase the torque in the engine won't stall. That's why we now do it the way we do it, is to hold the brake, bring the clutch out to that friction point. The vehicle won't stall, especially if you're controlling that clutch, and that's really what it's about. And again, just reiterate from what I said in the first lesson, the reason that it's so difficult to learn clutch control is because you got a big leg muscle that's designed for running, jumping, and kicking. Woo! And you're using those big motors, or those big leg muscles rather, for fine motor control. Fingers are designed for fine motor control, not your big leg. So you're teaching your leg fine motor control. And that's probably why some of you have some difficulty with clutch control, because you're doing things with the body that, you know, takes some time for the body to learn, because you're teaching it kinesthetic memory, which is essentially muscle memory, right? So that's the second lesson in driving a manual vehicle. Do forward first, reverse, do that as well, and then throttle up, and then brake, bring the tachometer down to 1000 RPM, and when you get to 1000 RPM, that's when you have to push the clutch in. You don't have to push the clutch in right away. Bring the tachometer down to 1000 RPM with the brake, and then push the clutch in and come to a complete stop. And that's how you combine the clutch and the brake. And in the next lesson, we're actually going to go out on the road and we're going to shift the vehicle and show you how to move between the other gears. We'll start off in the parking lot, but then we're going to go out on the roadway and show you how to begin to shift the gears. And it's going to be very exciting, because that's the lesson where you actually start to drive a manual vehicle and have fun with it. Question for my smart drivers: do you have any exercises for new drivers learning how to combine the clutch with the throttle and the clutch with the brake? Leave a comment down in the comment section there. All of that helps out the new drivers learning how to drive a manual car. I'm Rick with Smart Drive Test. Thanks very much for watching. If you like what you see here, share, subscribe, leave a comment down in the comment section. As well, hit that thumbs up button. Check out all the videos here on the channel if you're working towards a license or starting a career as a truck or bus driver. Lots of great information here as well. Head over to my website. Awesome information over there, and terrific online courses that you can purchase. And on that note, we're releasing an ebook in May 2017, Air Brakes Simplified. For those of you getting your CDL license, air brakes is a component of getting your CDL license, and this great ebook breaks down all the must-know information and gives you test questions that you will encounter for your CDL license. So look for that in May 2017. Thanks again for watching. Good luck in your road test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great day. Bye now. In a 4-part series, and in this lesson we're going to show you how to combine the clutch with the throttle, and show you how to combine the throttle with